You're listening to a Cult Talk Network podcast.
File access granted.
Welcome to Cult Talk Conspiracy, Summer at Sea. My name is Riley, and we are doing something a bit different today. Without asking permission from the actual host of the show, I thought I would do a mini episode about an Alaskan sea cryptid, just to give you a little extra episode before the finale. The reason I picked this episode is because I have a real-life marine biologist on here with me today to talk about it, and this is his favorite sea-related conspiracy. So I am joined today by the marine biologist, Anne, who is also my father.
Hi, son.
Hello. How are you doing today?
Great. I'm excited to talk about Steller Sea Monkeys.
Perfect. So do you have a reason why this is your favorite sea conspiracy or cryptid or...
Well, yeah, because I think it's actually not a cryptid. Because, the definition of cryptid is something that exists only in the imagination of some people that are willing to suspend their disbelief and believe in something that's not actually real. But I happen to think that the Steller Sea Monkey is, in fact, a real creature, or at least was, in fact, a real creature. And
Okay.
We'll get into the reasons why as we go on, I'm sure.
Okay, great. So you are a marine biologist for the U.S. government. Is that correct?
This sounds like a deposition.
Well, no, I just want to know because everything you say is the express, this is the expressed opinion of the U.S. government, correct? Everything we talk about today?
No, Your Honor, I am not a representative of the U.S. government at this moment in time.
Gotcha.
I am your dad, and I am a marine biologist, and that's as far as I'm going to go on this one.
Okay. So do you have access to files that are unreleased to the public that are alien related or anything, or is that above your pay grade?
I am not at liberty to reveal that information. But the answer is the answer is no.
Oh, okay.
I do not have any special clearance. But when it comes to sea creatures, I can say that I spent a lot of time on the ocean, and I've seen a lot of weird stuff. And I'm pretty familiar with what's out there, so I think I'm in a pretty good position to provide some perspective on what Steller might have seen out there in the wild waters.
So what's something crazy that you've seen out on the open ocean?
Oh man, you see all kinds of stuff. You see killer whales trying to eat sea lions. You see sea otters eating birds, which they aren't really supposed to do. You see, killer whales swim right under your boat or under your kayak. I mean, there's always something going on out there. It's always amazing to me when you're out in the wild waters of Alaska that there's so much going on. And so it doesn't surprise me that there are some sort of unusual and spectacular sightings of things.
Okay.
Because there's so much undiscovered stuff out there.
So have you had any close calls with being capsized or anything scary while you're out, storms coming through, or have you had any close calls where you were actually worried about your crew's safety?
We've weathered some pretty hellacious storms, I can tell you that. Where there's stuff blowing off the boat and gear scattering everywhere, or making crossings where the whole galley of the boat's falling apart and there are broken dishes flying back and forth, and there's some how shall I say vomiting involved in those stories.
Okay, yeah. So it's pretty accurate deadliest catch then. You're right out with them.
Well, except for the dumbassery, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm sure there's just at least a little bit of that when you're out at sea.
Yeah, could be.
All right. Well, let's get into it and let's unseal this file of the Steller Sea Monkey. All right, so we are back and we are going to talk a little bit about George Steller, the man himself. So can you give me a little bit of backstory on what you know about him?
Yeah, so to really understand this whole Steller Sea Monkey story, we got to go back in time all the way to 1741.
All right. So back when you were in your 20s.
Ha ha ha.
Just a memory ago for you.
I knew this was a mistake.
Yeah, I don't know why you agreed to this, but you just wanted to have a nice phone call with your son, and now you have to do homework and get roasted.
I figured, there'd be some consequence to agreeing to do this foolishness.
All right. Okay. So back in 1741.
So back in 1741, the Tsar of Russia was interested in exploring the North Pacific primarily to look for some nature that he could rape and pillage and fill the coffers of the Russian at that time Tsar. What's the equivalent of a kingdom? A tsardom? I don't know.
Sure. Sounds right enough.
So he hired this Danish sea captain, Vitus Bering, who the Bering Sea is named after, to do some exploring in the North Pacific. And Bering brought with him a naturalist called George Steller. And I think maybe the main thing to know about Steller is that he was not some dumbass that was just out here making stuff up. So there are so many animals that he described that are still in existence today that we know well. There's the Steller's eider, there's the Steller sea lion, there's the Steller's jay. These are all real animals that he first saw and described in a way that, well, he was the first European to ever see and describe these animals. So it's not like he's some fly-by-night guy who's trying to get a reality TV show on Discovery Channel or something. He's
especially not in 1741.
Okay, solid point, but so he was the real deal. He wasn't just making shit up. So I'm trying to sort of speak to his credentials as a naturalist and someone that really knew what he was doing and knew what he was seeing.
He wasn't just a stowaway that was like, oh man, I'm seeing some crazy stuff out there. No, he's actually he's a real guy. Yeah. So I was reading up a bit about him earlier. So he was a botanist, a zoologist, a physician, and an explorer, according to his Wikipedia page. So yeah, he's
now wait a minute. They had Wikipedia in 1741.
Now that they did, yeah, it was that's actually been around for a while, but. Yeah, so I also read that he is credited as one of the first non-native people to step foot on Alaska soil. So yeah, he was there right at the beginning.
Yeah, and it's it's all well documented too. He's got a journal and he's got descriptions of all this stuff and all the places that he went and what he saw on the the navigation of the whole expedition. So it's again, this is why I don't like using the word cryptid when it comes to talking about Steller sea monkeys, because he saw something,
right?
And
it's not like in his journals there was 5 or 6 things that we've yet to see. It was just this one, supposedly.
Right. And maybe now's a good time to bring up the Steller sea cow, which is also named after Steller. But it's this big, it's in the dugong family, but it's like a huge manatee that lived in the Bering Sea up until the 1700s. It's just as kind of farcical as a Steller sea monkey, but it's just monstrous, like a manatee, but 3 times the size thing that grazed on eelgrass in the Bering Sea. And it was a real animal. We have bones and we have accounts of people actually hunting and eating it, which is probably why they aren't around anymore.
Right.
But it's he described it. He described it accurately. He described it in detail, and it was a real thing that is now extinct. So, again, it's not like Steller's out there making stuff up.
Yeah, I see that he also saw a type of cormorant that is now extinct as well. Do you know anything about that? Do we have bones or whatever of that? Or is that just something I read on Wikipedia that may or may not be correct?
Oh, you're making that up.
Oh, okay.
No, I haven't heard about that, actually. An extinct cormorant. No, that's news to me.
Okay. Well, yeah, I was just reading up on other things that, he had discovered. You mentioned the sea lion. There was also apparently a Steller sea eagle. Is that?
Yes, I forgot that one. And that's a
Okay.
real thing.
That one looked pretty sweet. I'm not going to lie. I looked at a
No,
photo of that.
That's like the biggest badass eagle you've ever seen. Like, puts the bald eagles around here to shame.
All right. So America should have taken that one as its bird. But I guess there's probably not around here too much other than maybe Alaska.
Every once in a while. Yeah, every once in a while one shows up. But
Okay.
yeah.
Was he also discovered the fur seal, northern fur seal, and sea otter?
Yeah, and that's an important point. These are sea mammals with somewhat limited range, so there hadn't been a whole lot of exposure to them outside of course, native Alaskan cultures, which knew of them very well and harvested and coexisted with them for millennia. But the important thing about that is that, well, obviously Steller had seen fur seals and he'd seen sea otters before he ever described this, Steller Sea Monkey, which is, it seems like those are the two things that maybe one might confuse for a sea monkey. But
Right.
he'd already seen those. He already knew that they were out there. So
and he had already documented them well at that point. So you would think he could tell the difference. Gotcha.
Yep.
So can you describe what the Steller Sea Monkey looked like?
Yeah, and so Steller had this very detailed description of this sea monkey, and he described it as being a certain number of L's in length, which is a Russian measurement, but it's equivalent to 6 or 8 feet, kind of a mid-sized marine mammal. And he described it in great detail he said it had like a dog-like face and kind of a Fu Manchu mustache, and he described the shape of the tail. He described the coloration, and then he also described the behavior. And I think this is where the whole sea monkey thing comes in, because he described it as being really kind of energetic and playful, and it was diving back and forth underneath their boat, and it got within, the way he described it, got within a pole's length of the people that were observing it. So, he's got detailed descriptions of what it looks like, detailed descriptions of how it behaved, and he obviously saw it at a super close distance.
Well, I mean, if he saw that it had a Fu Manchu, you're not seeing it off in the distance if you're pointing that out. And then it said it had tail fins like a shark, according to when I was reading up on his journal. So that's a pretty unique creature. And if you look at the photos that someone did a drawing of online, it kind of almost to me looks like an aquatic bat in a way. Like it was kind of creepy.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, but then it was talking about how playful it was and inquisitive like a monkey. Then I could see that the description was a lot more in its not necessarily in its visuals, but in how it behaved.
Yep, for sure. And actually, let me go off on a little sidebar here. So I've had this sort of sea monkey obsession for a while, and probably 20 years ago, I was out with a crew, and we were reading this account of Stellers, and kind of joking around like, "Hey, we're out here, we're going to find ourselves a Steller sea monkey." But we went through this little exercise where I read the description, and everybody kind of independently drew what they thought it would look like, and the results were, as you might imagine, both hilarious and but also remarkably varied. So I'm not sure how much credence to put into that bat-like drawing that you described, but I mean, it's a the attributes that he describes it as are definitely unique. Right. And nothing like anything else you would see out there. Not like a walrus, not like a fur seal, not like a sea otter. It's something different.
Okay. Yeah. So definitely a unique thing and like we said, he's already seen and documented a bunch of other creatures. So clearly it's something else.
There's something out there, or at least there was.
There was. So is there anything else you want to talk about with either Steller or the sea monkey? Anything that you want to bring to attention? You already said that you you believe it, and yeah, I want you to tell me a little bit more as to why you are fully convinced that it is real.
Well, I don't like to use the word belief. Again, it's not like it's some made up shit like Bigfoot or Loch Ness monster or whatever.
Whoa! You don't come out here talking down on Bigfoot. All right, I go squatching every couple months. All right, I will find him, and Nessie is for sure real. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't need you coming in with all these accusations. All right.
All right. Our conversation's done.
Okay. All right. Anyways, back about the sea monkey.
Yeah. So, what was the question?
just more about why you are convinced that it either was or still remains to be a real creature, and where we might be able to find it.
Yeah. So I am definitely convinced that there was something that was not usual that Steller observed, just because of his super accurate description and because it doesn't really fit with any other mammal that you would expect to find in the North Pacific. So I feel pretty convinced that, one, that he wasn't making something up, and two, that it was something different from what you might expect to find out there. I think it's probably exceedingly unlikely that animal still occurs in the North Pacific today because, somebody would have seen it.
Right. So there was a tale in June of 1965. A sailor was out with his daughter and a friend, and they saw a similar creature on the northern coast of Atka Island in Alaska. They said they only saw it for about 15 seconds, but the way they described it was that it was about 1.5 meters long, which tracks with what Steller saw. Reddish yellow fur, which also tracks, and a face resembling that of a Shih Tzu, which would also kind of describe the Fu Manchu and dog-like face, although they only saw it for about 15 seconds. But that was in 1965, so that was pretty recent.
Yeah, well, I've got two comments on that. One, remember the "Don't Take Drugs" lecture that I gave you when you were a teenager?
Yes. Oh, so you think shrooms might have been involved?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that, other than don't take drugs. But yeah, I just think even though the waters of Alaska are pretty damn wild and pretty dang vast, I just don't think that it's possible to have a population of sea mammals out there that are only seen every 200 years.
Right.
But stranger things have happened, and I can't speak to that observation in the 60s, but it was the 60s. That's all I'll say about that.
There might be some other correlation there that we're not talking about. Is that what you're saying?
Could be.
Okay. All right. Well, that seems to be our little mini episode about the potential of the Steller sea ape or sea monkey that we talked about. And I'm glad I was able to get you on here to talk about your favorite sea related conspiracy. Yeah.
Super glad to be here, and always nice to see you, my son.
Yeah, I guess we got to podcast more, I guess. I don't know. I guess I could just call you.
I think we've exhausted my areas of interest, so
it's simply just this marine biology that may or may not be out there anymore.
Exactly.
All right.
No,
well,
we could come up with something, I'm sure.
Yeah. I don't know. I've been thinking about starting to learn how to fly Cessnas. You want to get into aviation with me? I don't know. I'm just really bored, apparently.
No, you've played enough black box down for me that I can't.
That's true. Okay.
I don't want to talk about
air
that.
Disaster podcast that we shouldn't do that. Okay. Well, we'll find another fun topic that I'll call you in 6 months and we can talk about again.
Sounds good. Yeah. Well, we got a lot of shared interests, outdoorsy stuff.
Yeah. Well, maybe
state of the National Basketball Association.
There we go. Yeah. Yeah, maybe we should go out and search for some of Steller's creatures. Either maybe we can go out on a boat in Alaska and try and find the sea ape, sea monkey, or I'm seeing the Steller sea eagle. You said was pretty crazy, and and big and badass. That might be a fun one to go find. I guess we're vacationing in Russia. I don't know if that's
Russia,
exactly...
Japan too. I know you want to go to Japan, so I think there's Steller Sea seagulls in Japan.
All right. Well, let's take a trip over to Japan and try and find some of these cool creatures that Steller found on that discovery, on that expedition.
Yeah. At a minimum, we could probably find a Fu Manchu.
Well, that's halfway there, so I'm pretty sure
halfway there.
that counts. That ticks at least one box that we can say, you know what, it was real.
That's a Chinese thing. I'm not being ignorant. But...
Okay.
Just so you know.
It wasn't just, it wasn't a...
I'm not trying to be an ignorant racist in case that's how it's coming across.
It's okay. I can edit it to make sure it seems like you are.
Awesome. All right. I knew this was a good idea.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, thank you again for coming on here with me and talking to me about the Steller Sea Monkey. This is a bonus little episode for the Summer at Sea Cult Talk Conspiracy. You can go ahead and follow Cult Talk Conspiracy on every social media platform at Cult Talk Net, and go check out some of the other shows we have out. Cult Talk Conspiracy is going to be coming back. We're going to be moving away from the sea but keeping on with the conspiracies. So come back, stay for that, and check that out. And remember to question everything.